Right, so, Red Tory boy, Keir Starmer, the kid starver. Last week, he held Labour's National Policy Forum, didn't he? Which I've talked about in a few videos about the fallouts that have been happening. Trade unions boycotting dinner with him over his refusal point blank to engage with them on policy concerns, even to the point Starmer's team even had the brass neck to allegedly tell general secretaries of said trade unions how to do their jobs. It's quite the way to treat those that fund you, isn't it? Though, of course, they're expected to stay and keep on paying them, much as unions have done for poor Labour leaderships in the past. The nicey touch from Team Keith reserved for those Tory donors they're trying to woo, of course. So we have trade unions, Labour members, Labour councillors, all comers from all parts of the affiliated Labour movement, coming together to hammer out policy positions. That's at least the intent. Yet the end result was basically a feature-length episode of Little Britain in effect, with Rachel Reeves sat behind a computer monitor coughing at delegates and going, "Computer says no," or "Fiscal rules say no," might be more accurate. Fiscal rules is a phrase we're going to become really fed up with very quickly with hearing, because it's an excuse. It's an excuse to not do anything or change anything. It appeals to unquestioning voters who just want the Tories out, because it makes the Labour Party sound like they actually know what they're doing. But actually, it tells us the opposite. Just shows them to be people delighting in being in charge, but actually having very little clue about what to do now that they are in charge. Starmer's like that turtle at the top of a wooden post. You can't quite work out how he got there. You know he absolutely shouldn't be there. And the turtle clearly has no idea what to do with itself now it has got there. Starmer's the same. No idea what to do now he's the leader, flip-flopping from one position to the next, depending on what time of day it is, but at the same time still completely unprepared to allow the Labour movement to tell him what to do, or clue him in about what to do, what to stand for, what to campaign on, because he's not interested in representing them. He just wants their support and their money. He said it himself the other day when watching a presentation in Green Energy by Ed Miliband. He said, "I'm not interested in hope and change." Well, what are you interested in? Because all it seems to be is getting power for the sake of power and having no idea what you do once you've got it. A man without idea, a man who will rule like a Tory leader at the end of 13 years in power, on its backside as they are, but he will start his premiership from that position so utterly bereft of ideas on what to do. And it's not like the country doesn't need fixing, he's just afraid to actually commit to anything to do that. Part of that is because of the ideas and the activism, of course, always comes from the left. Right-wingers in the Labour Party are Tories. They keep doing Tory things, like Blair did in carrying on privatisation and not reversing anti-trade union legislation. Another reason Starmer's allergic to taking any notice of the unions that fund him. Another reason why supportive union leaders of Starmer are as useful as chocolate fire guards to the wider Labour movement and the struggle for a better deal for working class people. It's the left of the party that come up with good ideas that get adopted. It's why Starmer has picked and chosen from Corbyn's old manifestos, despite his hangers-on claiming that to be one of the reasons why the party lost, of course, only to ditch even those ideas later on when it's no longer politically expedient, when Rachel Reeves again coughs at him too, presumably, and says fiscal rules say no. The Green New Deal was one. Then that got watered down to a Green New Strategy, rebrand, very Starmery, to then decide to bin it on the basis that actually he just hated the tree huggers and, well, he wanted to look a bit green for a little bit while. The rest of us now look green looking at him. Well, tree huggers have a few things to say about a certain group of Greek islands currently on fire right now, Keith, but you haven't said a dicky bird about them, have you? Not even to offer solidarity to the people affected. Not that you actually know the meaning of the word. But let's get back to the National Policy Forum. Surely something constructive came out of it somewhere, Damo. You might be thinking that. Well, only insofar as we know what Starmer is ruling out, because ruling anything in, engaging with the members, the trade unions on solid policy positions, like I said, not a chance. It's almost like they're scared to commit to anything in case they chase potential new Labour donors away. The Tory ones that Rachel Reeves has been inviting over for breakfast. Well, that shows he'll do a U-turn in power on pretty much anything and show himself to be a full-throated left leader for change. His fan base would squeal, but to that I would say he's perfectly happy to rule such things out now. He'd have to lie yet again once in power, and that has only been his only defining reliable trait since he became Labour leader in order to rule them back in. So how long can you trust him to deliver on such things when he's likely to flip-flop again, lying to you yet again? How many lies is he going to tell you before you start to get the gist that this is not a guy you can trust? When you can't trust the man to keep his word on literally anything, how can you trust any policies he might announce will be delivered? Manifestos aren't legally binding, after all. Politicians of all parties, they bin stuff off all the time after they get into power or even on the way to it. But Starmer isn't prepared to even offer sweeteners to bin off later. He doesn't want to offer hope and change. He said it. So his manifesto, I'm certain, will be one of the most depressing offerings ever made, relying on being elected to get the Tories out despite changing absolutely nothing they are already doing. It's not like he wasn't presented with options at the policy forum, though. Bring in a wealth tax. Whoa, ruled that out. That would give his government more spending power, but he wants wealthy people to fund his party instead, not the country. So forget about addressing income inequality. Same goes for corporation tax or capital gains tax. The rich won't pay a penny more. Power for power's sake with the Labour right. Renationalisation of water, of energy, things he pledged to do when running to be Labour leader. The services run into the ground. The profiteering rampant and all of our waterways filled with shit. And he again says, no, we won't do it. There were calls to scrap tuition fees, as he also once pledged to do. He won't do that now. Benefit sanctions must be scrapped. Universal credit abolished because it doesn't work. The two-child benefit cap must go, as it has just proven to put kids in poverty, and he's gone back on all of that too. He promised universal free school meals would be provided for children too, but that's gone as well. Between that and the two-child benefit cap, it's no wonder he's earned the nickname Sir Kid Starver, and he's done it before he's even reached power, whilst he's still in opposition. So goodness knows how many more nicknames we'll have for him should he become PM and we see what he actually does. Though I can quite conceivably see him holed up in number 10, paralysed by fear, because now he'll have to actually commit to a given position on something, rather than act like a bumper-packed edition of the Kama Sutra. The sad thing is Labour is delivering those meals at Metro Mayor level or at local levels. For as much flack as Sadiq Khan has come in for over ulez during the last week's by-election loss in Uxbridge, kids in London are getting universal free school meals from September. The SNP in Scotland also already deliver this. So it's not like it can't be done. It's just that Starmer will not commit to it or anything else. He's just ruled stuff out, limiting in the end what he actually will stand for, unless he U-turns and is proven to be a liar again. He hadn't finished binning off stuff at the policy forum yet, though. The pensions triple lock, something even the Tories treat as sacrosanct, though mainly that's because the grey vote is their core vote, is getting ditched if Starmer wins the general election. Extra funding for Sure Start, one of the few things I'll credit Tony Blair for doing something good over, won't be fixed by a Starmer Labour government. Rent controls have been binned, and this is especially stupid because it doesn't actually cost anything to implement, so it wouldn't violate those arbitrary and made-up fiscal rule constraints Starmer and Reeves have put on themselves. It could even save money, as enforcing a rent cap would save on government payouts in the form of housing benefit. Minimum wage calls for £12 an hour and £15 an hour were made, and Labour rejected both. This really should be the final straw for people in this cost of living crisis, and let's face it, the Tories have already pulled a fast one on Labour in the past over this. Most recently, Labour were demanding £10 per hour, and the Tories whacked it up to £10.42. Ed Miliband let George Osborne do this to him as well when he was Labour leader, when Labour called for an £8 per hour minimum wage and George Osborne put it up to £9 an hour. The paralysing stupidity, paralysing being the operative word, seems to define the Labour right when it comes to actually doing anything and putting down policy. The Labour manifesto at this rate is going to be hilariously depressing. It'll probably not fill one side of A4, given how much they're binning off. Rent caps weren't the only cost-free options before Labour, though, at this NPF. It would have cost nothing to abolish the Tories' voter ID laws, which disproportionately benefit the Tories. Binning the police crime sentencing and courts bill, the anti-protest bill, would be free and easy to do and popular too. But they refuse to commit to scrapping them either. Since the policy forum, Labour has carried on ruling stuff out too. Most notably, is something that has shamed its supporters into silence today, has been going back on Labour's position on trans rights, even to the point of allowing trans people to self-identify. This is a man who stands for absolutely nothing, won't engage with his own party, his own union funders, or the wider Labour movement to say what he would do in power, just what he won't, hiding behind the veneer of trying to look financially credible, when the reality is he's too scared of upsetting those who support he actually wants. A leader for the few and not the many is what he strives to be. That's what he wants to be. And that's been exposed elsewhere, but that'll keep for another vid. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this video useful. Please like, share and subscribe if you did. New content out daily. Meanwhile, here's a video recommendation for you covering that walkout by trade unions at the policy forum, such was their anger at what was going on. I wish they'd pulled their funding at this point, frankly. We'll see if any get there, I guess, and I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.